Settle back now and let your body grow still, sinking into the comfort of where you lie. Loosen your shoulders, soften your face, and let your breathing fall into a slow and easy rhythm. Picture the green countryside at the gentle close of day, the hills rolling away beneath a calm and fading sky. A warm breeze moves slowly through the long grass, carrying the scent of earth and meadow flowers. There is nothing here that asks anything of you. No task, no worry, no hurry. Just the soft rise and fall of the land and the quiet that lives within it. Let yourself grow heavier with each breath, and let the peaceful hills draw you slowly toward rest. The lane that winds between the hills is pale in the night, a ribbon of packed earth softened by moss along its center. You walk it slowly, your steps almost silent, and the hedgerows on either side rise tall and close, their leaves whispering only when the faintest breeze moves through. Now and then a gap in the hedge opens onto a wide dark field where mist pools knee-high and motionless. The whole countryside is hushed, as though everything green has agreed to rest at once. A distant owl calls, soft and round, then falls silent. You breathe in the cool air, sweet with hawthorn, and feel the lane carry you gently onward, with no destination but the deepening, peaceful dawn. On a folded feed sack in the corner of the milking shed, the farm cat has curled herself into a comma and gone to sleep. You crouch nearby and watch her breathe. Her sides rise and fall in a slow, untroubled rhythm, and one white paw twitches faintly against nothing at all. The shed is finished for the day, the stalls empty, the floor damp and drying in long pale patches. Evening comes blue at the open door. The cat does not stir for you. Her ear turns once towards some small sound outside and then relaxes. You stay crouched a while, listening to nothing, letting her sleep, and there is something in the sight of that easy breathing that loosens the day out of your shoulders and makes your own eyes heavy. Below the mill, the tail race carries the used water back to the stream, and you follow it slowly through the rushes. Here the water comes out churned and pale, then quiets within a few steps, then goes smooth and green and slow again as if nothing had happened. Little rafts of foam sail away and dissolve. Behind you the wheel goes on lifting and pouring, its sound growing softer as you walk. Meadowsweet grows thick along the bank and smells of honey in the warm air. You crouch and put your hand into the water, and it is cold and steady and lively against your palm. Everything here is on its way somewhere, gently, and you let yourself drift along with it. The latch of the paddock gate is a simple iron loop, worn shiny by decades of hands, and you rest your fingers on it without lifting it. It has kept the day's warmth and feels smooth and mild against your skin. Beyond the gate, the pony stands dozing under the crab apple, his tail swinging now and then in a slow, absent arc. The light is going amber across the field, and the shadows of the hedge stretch long over the grass. You leave the latch closed. There is no need to go in. The pony's ears turn once toward you, then tilt back to rest, and his lower lip hangs loose and soft. The iron cools slowly under your hand. The whole quiet corner of the evening seems content to stay exactly as it is. The verge here is a gentle tangle of yarrow and purple vetch, and you slow your walk along the lane to take it in. The flat white heads of the yarrow nod above the grass, and the vetch winds among them, hung with small violet blooms that stir in the evening air. Everything leans and sways together in the soft breeze, a slow and endless motion along the roadside. The sun sits low and warm at your back, laying your shadow long down the pale lane. A butterfly, wings the color of dusk, drifts from flower to flower and settles. The air is warm and dry and full of the smell of grass gone to seed. You stand quite still and watch the tangled verge nod and sway, and feel your own thoughts slow and settle. You find your way up into the granary loft by the last gray light of dusk, climbing past the hooks and coiled ropes that line the stairwell. At the top, mounds of freshly threshed barley rise soft and pale beneath the sloping eaves, still faintly warm from the day's sun on the roof. You wade a few steps into the loose grain, feeling it shift and settle around your ankles like warm sand. A single swallow circles once near the ridge beam before vanishing into its nest in the dark. The air is thick with the sweet, dusty smell of harvest, warm and dry against your throat. You lower yourself down into the grain, let it cradle your shoulders, and watch the last blue light fade through the gable window above. The warm shower has passed over, and the fields are dripping and sweet, and the swallows have come out low across the wet grass, hunting the last insects of the day. You watch from the yard gate as they cut close over the ground, wings flashing, turning on nothing. The hedges shine. Water ticks down from the gutter above the porch. Then the light thins out of the west, and the birds begin to lift away from the field, one after another, climbing to the house and slipping in beneath the eaves. Each one shakes itself in the shadow up there and settles. The dripping goes on slow and soft. The whole rinsed evening smells of soil and grass, and the swallows are home, and there is nothing left to do but breathe it in. A beekeeping veil hangs from a nail on the shelter post, empty and soft, moving a little in the evening air. You touch the fine black mesh with a fingertip. It is cool and gives easily, like something between cloth and smoke. The wide hat brim holds its shape from long wearing. It smells faintly of smoke and grass. Behind it, through the mesh, the row of hives goes dim and grainy, the world seen the way the beekeeper sees it, softened and screened. The last light lies orange along the tops of the hedges. You let the veil fall back against the post and stand there in the plain, unfiltered dusk, listening to the hives hum themselves down toward stillness. In the cool of the cellar, the barrels stand in a low row, filled at last from the day's pressing, and you walk slowly along them, trailing your fingers on their staves. The oak is damp and cold and faintly sticky where the juice ran over. Each barrel is bungered loose with a twist of cloth, and from beneath them comes the faintest sound, a soft, slow tick and sigh as the cider begins its long, quiet work. The air is thick and sweet. A candle on the shelf lays a low orange glow along the curved wood. You lean against the last barrel and feel the deep hush of the place, everything here settling, resting, taking its slow time in the dark. You carry a cup of warm water out to the porch, more for the holding than the drinking, and sit near the hanging mint to let its scent mingle faintly with the rising steam. The porch is empty and hushed at this late hour, only the soft creak of settling wood and the occasional call of some distant bird. You cup the mug in both hands, feel its gentle warmth against your palms, and watch the mint sway just above, its shadow long and thin across the boards in the low lamplight. The fields beyond lie dark and still, holding the last faint outline of the hills. You sip slowly, breathe the mingled steam and mint, and let your thoughts grow as soft and warm as the cup itself. You carry a mug of tea down to the bench under the old apple tree and set it on the slats beside you, where it sends up a thin thread of steam into the cooling air. The sun has gone behind the hills, but left the sky a long, soft gold. The tree stands black and generous above you. You wrap both hands around the warm mug and do not drink yet. Out in the field the sheep are drifting toward the far hedge, unhurried, pale in the dusk. The first bat flickers between the trees and is gone. The steam thins and stops. You sit with the cooling mug in your hands and let the evening come, slow and blue and kind, filling the orchard to the brim. You stand at the edge of the barley field as swallows skim low across the ripening heads, their wings stirring the faintest whisper from the grain. The sky above has turned a deep warm amber, fading slowly toward violet at its edges. A scarecrow leans gently in the far corner, its shadow long across the field. The birds gather in loose formation, circling higher as the light fades, calling softly to one another before angling toward the barn beyond the hedgerow. You walk on a little further, the barley brushing softly against your legs, and watch the last swallows vanish over the roofline, the field settling into a calm and golden hush. The lane to the farm passes a duck pond and a pair of weathered gateposts, and you walk it as the evening light turns the whole world to amber. The hedges are heavy with rose ships and the last bramble flowers, and the verge is soft with fallen leaves. A few hands scratch and murmur in the yard ahead before drifting toward their coop. The smell of hay and warm earth and the faint thread of wood smoke hangs on the cooling air. Beyond the farm, the fields slope gently up to a line of dim woods, gilded along their tops. You pause at the gate, rest your arms upon it, and watch the sun lower behind the trees, the farmyard quieting, the day folding itself softly toward night. Sheep have been led into the orchard to eat the windfalls, and by evening they have had their fill and are ready to lie down. You come along the wall and watch them choose their places under the old apple trees. They settle among the roots, in the long grass beneath the low-leaning boughs, and the fruit lies dim and red around them. The air is sweet and cidery and faintly cool. One ewe stands a while longer, reaching up to take a last apple from a branch, chewing it thoughtfully with her eyes half shut. Then she too goes down into the grass. The orchard grows dark by degrees. You stay leaning on the warm stone of the wall, breathing the sweetness, while the whole gentle business finishes itself without you. You linger in the orchard as the last daylight fades and a great harvest moon lifts slowly above the hills. Its pale gold light spreads across the trees, and the fruit hangs heavy and dim in the branches, apples and pears gleaming faintly where the moonlight touches them. The air is cooled, soft and still, and the ripe sweetness of the orchard rises gently around you. A moth wavers past on pale wings and is lost among the leaves. The grass is cool beneath your feet, silvered now, and the long shadows of the laden trees stretch quiet across it. You stand and watch the moon climb higher over the fruit-laden boughs, and a deep and dreamy peace comes over you, slow as the rising of the moon itself. The hammock under the apple tree is an old one, woven of soft cotton rope gone gray and furred with use, and it takes your weight with a low creak of the branch above. You lie back and feel the knots press gently against your shoulders. Through the mesh of the ropes, the grass shows green and long beneath you. Overhead, the leaves turn slowly in a breeze you can barely feel. An apple somewhere in the tree lets go and dumps softly into the grass, and the sound is small and perfectly ordinary. You close your eyes. The rope creaks, the leaves hush, the evening warmth lies on your face, and every knot beneath you seems to hold you a little more kindly than the last. You stand at the barn's wide open doors, one hand resting on the sun-warmed wood, and look up past the loft to where the weather vane holds the sky's last color on its worn iron surface. Inside behind you, the barn breathes out its familiar smell of hay and warm animals. The vane turns the smallest amount, following some last stirring of evening air, and the light along its edge shifts gently from gold to a soft rust red. A barn owl somewhere above stirs faintly in the rafters. You watch until the color has fully drained from the iron, leaving only its familiar silhouette against the sky gone deep and quiet, and step back slowly into the barn's gathering dark. A little stone bench sits half swallowed by reeds at the pond's edge, worn smooth by years of quiet visitors, and you brush away a few fallen leaves and sit. The water lies dark and calm before you, and the frog's calling rises slowly as the last light drains from the sky. Each note seems to ripple outward, overlapping with the next, until the whole pond hums softly. A pale moth circles once near your shoulder and moves on. The reeds nod gently, though there is barely any wind. You rest your hands loosely in your lap and simply listen, feeling your breathing slow to match the calm, steady pulse of the frog's song drifting across the still water. From the small rise behind the farmhouse, you look down over the full sweep of the barley field, gold stretching almost to the tree line in the low evening light. The wind arrives here first, and you feel it against your face a moment before you see its long ripple begin far below, traveling steadily across the crop like a slow hand smoothing a golden cloth. You sit in the warm grass and watch wave after wave roll outward, each one slightly different, some wide and lazy, others quick and bright. A dog barks once, far off, and then the evening is quiet again, but for that endless gentle rustle rising up the slope to meet you. You watch until the light softens to amber, and your eyes grow heavy with the field's slow, unhurried breathing. The hay ring in the middle of the field has been filled today, and the cattle stand around it in the dusk, taking their last mouthfuls. They eat slowly now, more from habit than hunger, pulling strands loose and chewing with their eyes half closed. Hayseed hangs in the cold air around them. One by one they drift off from the ring and find a place on the trodden ground and go down, front knees first, with a great settling grunt. You watch from the gateway with your hands in your pockets. The lost one stays at the ring a while, alone with the hay, and then she too turns and lies down among the others. The field goes quiet. The ring stands empty in the middle of the sleeping herd. Deep in the curing shed, the air holds a soft haze that never fully clears, drifting gently among the hanging hams and coiled sausages suspended from the beams. You walk carefully beneath them, tracing a slow path to the fire pit, where hickory embers glow low and steady, tended for the long night ahead. You crouch beside the warmth and at a single small log, watching it catch slowly and release a fresh curl of fragrant smoke. The scent deepens, sweet and woody, filling the small dim room. You find a seat on a low wooden crate nearby and simply watch the smoke rise and gather near the roof before slipping quietly out into the night. Your thoughts settle into its same unhurried rhythm, soft and slow and warm. On the whitewashed inner wall of the mill, the shadow of the wheel swings slowly past, over and over, cast there by the low sun through the wheelhouse gap. You sit on a bench across the room and watch it come. A long, dark bar, then light, then another dark bar, sliding up the wall and gone. The rhythm is very slow and perfectly even. The whitewash is soft and chalky and warm-looking, and the shadows move over it like something breathing. Outside, the water falls with its steady hush. Nothing else in the room stirs. You watch bar after bar of shadow climb the wall and vanish, and count a few of them without meaning to, and then stop counting altogether. You walk the field boundary where the hedge bank runs long and tangled, and there the goats have spread to browse as the light fades toward blue. A gray-brown doe stands with her forelegs propped on a fallen limb, reaching high into a spray of blackberry canes, lips working carefully around the thorns. Lower down, a kid noses through the fallen leaves for clover missed by the others. The evening is mild and still, the hedge alive with the small soft sounds of browsing goats. You lean on the fence rail and watch, letting the calm, unhurried scene settle over you slowly, like dusk itself easing down across the fields. You brush the chaff from your sleeves at the edge of the threshing floor, and it lifts away in a small pale cloud and hangs in the low light before drifting down. It is fine as pollen, and it will not quite let go of the wool. You give up and let it stay. The floor before you is swept, the flails hung, the sacks tied. Beyond the door, the shorn fields go on to the hills, level and gold and shaved to the ground. The whole valley smells of dry straw. You stand there half covered in the day's dust, unhurried, and feel the deep animal contentment of a body that has finished its work. You take a bucket of well water to the press and sluice it slowly down the boards. The water runs pale gold at first, carrying off the last crumbs of spent apple, then clear, and pools in the packed earth below. The wood darkens where it wets, showing its long grain. Cold splashes reach your wrist. You work without hurry, a soft cloth in one hand, wiping the frame where the juice has gone tacky. The bottom fills with the clean smell of wet wood and apples. When you finish, the press stands dark and glistening in the last of the light, and you stand a moment longer with the empty bucket, listening to the water tick and settle slowly into the ground. The evening cool has begun to press against the outside of the glass, and a fine mist of condensation has gathered on the panes, blurring the garden beyond into soft green nothing. Inside, the greenhouse stays warm, and the tomato leaves give up their scent into that closed, sweet air. You stand near the wall and watch a single bead of water gather at the top of a pane, hesitate, then slide down in a slow, clear track, gathering others as it goes. It ridges the frame and stops. Another begins above it. There is no hurry to any of it. The vines lean quietly on their canes. You watch the glass sweep its small gentle rain and feel your own breathing slow to match the patience of the room. Near the middle of the rack hangs a bundle of bay, and it is the one that has not softened. The leaves are still stiff and slightly curled, glossy even in the low light, and when you brush them with the back of your hand, they rattle faintly against each other. It is a small dry sound, like something turning over in its sleep. You do it once more, gently, just to hear it. The bay smells of nothing much, until you press a leaf, and then it gives up a deep and resigning sweetness that lingers on your fingers. The rack hangs still again. Evening presses soft and blue against the gable window. You stand there with the scent on your hand, and let the quiet come all the way in. Where the hedge bank runs beside the old sheep track, you find the goats browsing quietly as dusk gathers thick and soft around the hills. A speckled doe leans into a stand of hazel, plucking leaves one by one with patient care, while further along a kid sniffs curiously at a fallen acorn before losing interest and wandering back to graze. The evening air carries the mingled scent of hazel leaves and cooling soil. A few lost swallows cut low across the field beyond. You settle onto the grassy bank yourself, watching the goats' slow, steady browsing, and let your breathing ease into the same unhurried rhythm as the fading light. The pumpkin patch spreads out beyond the vegetable beds, its vines sprawling thick over the darkening ground, studded with round orange fruit grown heavy and still. You walk among them slowly, stepping over curling tendrils, and rest a hand on the ridged skin of the nearest pumpkin, sun-warmed even now as evening comes on. The leaves are broad and slightly rough, some gone gold at the edges. Somewhere a wheelbarrow stands half-loaded, forgotten for the night. The light softens to rose along the horizon. You sit on its overturned rim and simply look out over the sprawling vines, the great orange shapes glowing faintly in the last warmth, and feel your breathing slow to match the stillness of the field. You follow the lane as it climbs a low rise, the blossoming hedges rising taller with every step until they nearly meet above your head in a soft arch of white. The evening air cools slightly here, carrying the mingled scent of hawthorn and distant cut grass. Your footsteps fall soft, and even on the packed earth, worn pale by generations of slow walkers before you. A single early moth flutters up from the verge and circles once before settling back into the leaves. At the top of the rise, the hedges part just enough to show a strip of darkening sky, streaked faintly gold. You pause there, breathing slow, before the lane dips gently away again into blossom-scented shadow. In the corner beyond the last vine, a stack of clay pots leans against the glass, nested one inside the next, their rims chipped and their sides pale with old lime. You lift the topped view and feel the dry warmth of them, the gritty roughness, the small hollow knock as they come apart. Inside the deepest one, a little dry soil remains from some past summer. You set them back and wipe your palms on your knees. The greenhouse smells of tomato leaves, green and warm, and of clay, and of dust. The light through the panes is nearly gone. The pots settle back into their patient leaning stack. You stand a moment longer in the corner, in the fading warmth, with nothing at all on your mind. You lie back in the long grass beneath an old apple tree, its branches spread wide and bending low with fruit. The apples hang close above you, dim red and russet in the last of the light, so heavy that some boughs almost brush the tops of the grasses. The evening is warm and windless, and the whole orchard seems to breathe out the ripe scent of its harvest. High overhead a few swallows turn in the paling sky, then are gone. Now and then an apple loosens and falls with a soft thud into the grass nearby. You fold your hands on your chest and watch the fruit darken slowly against the fading blue, and the deep contentment of the place settles over you like a warm and quiet blanket. Under the trailing branches of an old willow, the farm cart sits half hidden, its wheels dappled with shifting shade even as the light begins to fail. You duck beneath the low green curtain of leaves and find a seat on the cart's edge, the willow's fine branches brushing softly at your shoulders. A light breeze moves through them with a whisper like slow water. The cart's wood is cooler, sheltered from the day's last sun. Somewhere beyond the branches a wood pigeon calls, low and even. You sit very still, watching the willow leaves sway gently over the resting wheels, and feel the soft green hush wrap slowly, gently, around your quiet thoughts. You find the goats browsing along a hedge bank thick with hazel and hawthorn, the evening light slanting low in gold through the gaps in the leaves. A nanny goat lifts her chin to catch a spray of hazel just above her reach, straining gently, ears flopping forward with the stretch. Behind her, a kid flops down in the cool grass to rest, already full from an evening of grazing. The hedge murmurs faintly with settling burr. You breathe the scent of crushed leaf and warm soil, watching the goats work slowly along the bank, unhurried, entirely at peace, and let that same unhurried peace settle quietly into you. On the mantel above the stove an old clock ticks slowly, and you sit and listen to it as the dusk gathers in the kitchen. Its face is dim now in the failing light, the hands moving too slowly to see, and its soft steady tick marks of the quiet minutes. The stove beneath it gives out a gentle heat. Around you the room settles into evening, the corners filling with soft shadow, the window fading from grey to blue. The clock's tick is unhurried and sure, a small calm heartbeat in the stillness. You lean back in your chair and let the sound wash over you even and endless, and feel the slow time of the evening carry you gently towards sleep. The mossy well sits just beyond the orchard gate, half shaded by a leaning apple tree whose fruit hangs heavy and sweet. You lean against the cool stone rim in the fading light, feeling the moss soft and damp beneath your hand. A faint hum of settling insects drifts from the grass nearby. Somewhere in the depths, water shifts once, softly, then falls perfectly still. You watch a single apple, fallen earlier, resting in the long grass beside the well, its skin catching the last warm light. The evening folds gently around you, quiet and unhurried, and you let your thoughts settle as calmly as the water far below, dark and undisturbed. A basket of freshly cut chives sits drying on the porch rail, not yet bundled, loose and fragrant, while older bunches of sage sway from the eave above. You sit beside the basket, running your fingers lightly through the loose chives, feeling their thin green stems, breathing their mild oniony scent mixed with the deeper sage above. The evening has gone soft and blue, the fields folding into shadow row by row. Somewhere a barn door creaks once in the wind and settles. You gather a small handful of chives, let them fall slowly back into the basket, and lean your head against the porch post, watching the sage sway on, unhurried, above you. You sit quite still on the low bank where the stream runs clear and deep, and after a while a kingfisher comes to rest on a bare twig above the water. It sits there jewel-bright and motionless, a small quiet flame of blue and orange against the green, watching the slow current pass below. The stream murmurs softly over its gravel bed, unbothered, carrying the last warm light of the day. For a long moment, the little bird simply waits, patient and still, and you wait with it, hardly breathing. Then it drops, dips the water, and lifts away in a low, bright line downstream. The ripples smooth themselves, and the stream flows on, and you sit on in a gentle hush, calm and glad and wonderfully at peace. The upper half of the hut's door swings open on its hook, and you lean your arms on the lower half and look out at the evening. The wood is cool and worn beneath your forearms, rounded by long use. Air moves in past you, carrying thyme and cropped grass, and the faint sweet lanolin smell of sheep. Behind you the hut is dim and close and full of quiet. Before you the pasture runs away for miles, graying softly into distance. A last swallow cuts across the open and is gone. You stand there a long while in the doorway, half in the little room and half in all that space, and the two halves of the world feel equally kind and equally still. A single stone stands up out of the stream, and behind it the water turns back on itself in a slow, patient circle. You crouch on the bank and watch that little eddy. A scrap of straw comes down, is caught, and begins to go round, out, back, round, out, back, round, in no hurry to be released. The stream goes on past on either side, brown and smooth in the evening light. Sometimes the straw almost escapes, and then the eddy takes it gently back again. Above the fields the sky is soft with the last of the sun. You watch that slow circling for a long time, until the straw finally slips free and goes drifting away downstream, and something in you unwinds along with it. You take the narrow path that follows the stream through the darkening fields, and the water moves beside you slow and unhurried, gleaming faintly in the last of the light. It winds where it pleases, curling around a stand of alders, slipping past a low grassy bank, never in any hurry to arrive. The surface carries the pale color of the sky and holds it gently as it goes. Now and then a small eddy turns beside a stone, then smooths again. The air is cool and green and smells of water and crushed grass. You walk in step with the current, letting it lead you on, and with every quiet bend the fields grow softer and dimmer, and your own thoughts grow slow and easy and content. A dozen apples are lined along the windowsill to ripen, and you go over to them as the light turns low and gold. They are the last of the orchard's late crop, small and green gold, each with a faint rose blush on the side that faced the sun. Someone has set them carefully in a single row, not quite touching. You pick one up and turn it, cool, waxy, faintly speckled, giving out the smallest whisper of sweetness when you hold it near. The stall's paint is soft and thick with many coats. Beyond the glass, the fields are going gray. You put the apple back in its place in the row, exactly where it was, and stand a moment in the fading window, breathing the sweet air. You come upon a wooden gate half open between two paddocks, propped by a stone at its base, and a light current of evening air stirs it just enough to sway. It creaks once, gently, then settles, then creaks again as the breeze returns in slow waves. You crouch to rest your back against the nearest post, watching moths circle lazily near a lantern hung on the barn wall. The grass around your feet is cool with the coming night. Each creak of the gate seems to mark the passing of a slow, unhurried minute. A horse shifts quietly in the field beyond, its shape soft in the dimness. You breathe in time with the gate's gentle swaying, and your thoughts grow slower, softer, until they seem to sway too. Copper pans hang in a row above the stove, largest to smallest, and you look along them as the room dims. Their bottoms are dark with fire, and their sides are soft rose-brown, dented here and there, catching what light is left and holding it in long, low gleams. Each one hangs a little askew from the last. The smallest is scarcely bigger than a teacup, and its handle has been mended with wire. Warmth rises past them from the stove, and they take it in and hold it, so that when you touch one it is mildly, pleasantly warm, like a stone at the end of a sunny day. The rose swings the berries the mountain stills. Outside, the last light goes. The pans wait in their places, patient and quietly shining. The very last sheaf of the field has been carried in and set with care above the barn door, dressed with a twist of ribbon as the old custom asks. You stand below it in the golden evening, looking up at the little bundle that marks the harvest safely home. All around, the barn is full, the crop gathered, stacked, and stored against the winter. The air is warm and sweet with straw, and a deep contentment hangs over the place. Outside, the emptied fields lie quiet under a rose-gold sky. A gentle breeze moves through the door and stirs the ribbon sheaf. You breathe in slow and deep, glad of the finished season, and feel a soft and settled peace gather round you like the coming dusk. An old willow leans far out over the duck pond, and its trailing branches make a dim green room above the water. You duck beneath them and stand inside. The light comes through in soft moving coins. Half the flock has come in here for the night, drifting slowly among the hanging leaves, nudging them aside, going quiet. Their small wakes cross and fade. The air inside the willow is cooler, greener, and smells of leaf and pond. Somewhere outside, a last blackbird ends its song. You put your hand on the deep-grooved trunk and stand very still while the ducks settle around you, and the green room dims by degrees, and the whole quiet chamber sinks toward night. You walk the green track that runs beside an old field wall, trailing your fingers along its rough gray stones. Each one is set without mortar, fitted close by hands long gone, and the whole wall leans and settles with the gentle roll of the land. Moss grows soft and green in the shaded scenes, and small ferns uncurl from the crevices where the rain collects. The lowering sun lays your shadow long across the grass, and the stones give back a faint warmth to your passing hand. Beyond the wall, a field of barley stands pale and still, its heads bowed in the quiet air. You slow your steps to the wall's unhurried line, breathe the cool evening, and let it lead you gently on toward the darkening hills. The granary loft holds the whole day's warmth long into the evening, and you climb up to sit among the sacks, just to feel it settle around you like a second skin. Grain dust drifts through the narrow window slats, each mote catching the fading light before dissolving into shadow. You trail your fingers along the rough burlap beside you, feeling the grain shift and murmur faintly beneath the cloth. The eaves slope low on either side, meeting the floor in soft angles that make the whole loft feel like a nest tucked under wings. Far below, the barn door creaks once as someone latches it for the night. You pull your knees up, rest your chin upon them, and watch the last gold fade slowly from the little window. An old wooden bench sits half hidden in the long grass, where the lane widens, and you lower yourself onto it to rest as the day fades. All around, purple betony grows tall from the verge, its soft flower heads nodding at the level of your hand. You let one lean against your open palm and feel it dip and rise with the breeze. The bench is weathered smooth and still warm from the afternoon sun, and the grass at your feet is deep and soft. A robin lands on the far end of the bench, watches you a moment with a bright dark eye, then flies. The balcony sways gently in the cooling air, and the lane grows dim and quiet. You settle back and let the peaceful nodding of the flowers draw you toward rest. You lie back in the tall meadow grass and let it close softly over you, so that only the deepening sky remains. Stems of timothy and fescue rise all round your head, nodding faintly against the pale gold of the west, and a late bee bumbles somewhere among the clover. The ground is warm beneath you, holding the day's heat, and the earth smells green and sweet and faintly of honey. High above, a few swifts wheel and cry, then drift away toward the dimming hills. A cricket begins a small even song close by your ear. You feel the meadow breathing its warmth up into the cooling air, and you lie still within it, watching the first faint star appear, your thoughts loosening and slowing like the light. You follow the old wall as it climbs the long, slow shoulder of the hill, its gray stones threading up through the evening gold. It rises and dips with the land, never hurried, laid course on course by hands that knew the fields by heart. The higher you go, the wider the country opens, field beyond field stitched together by more low gray walls, all softening now in the lowering light. Sheep graze quietly in the folds below, small and still and pale. The air grows cool and clear, sweet with the scent of grass and warm stone. You pause where the wall crests the rise, rest a hand on the sun-warmed capstones, and stand a while looking out over the hushed and golden land as the day slips slowly down. You throw nothing, and still the pond makes its rings. A duck shifts, a fish rises, a leaf comes down from the willow, and each sends its slow circles outward across the dark water. You watch one set widen and widen until it reaches the sleeping flock at the far bank and lifts them, very gently, all together like a breath. They do not wake. The rings pass on, flatten, and are gone, and the pond is a mirror again. The willow trails its fingers at the edge. The evening air is cool on your face and smells of green water. You watch the next ripple begin, and the next, and let the slow spreading of them carry your thoughts out to nothing at all. Up on the high common, a flock of sheep rests scattered across the misted grass, each one a soft pale shape, barely darker than the fog itself. You stand quietly at a distance, not wishing to disturb them. Now and then one rises, takes a few slow steps, and folds back down into the wet turf. The gentle shifting is the only motion in all that grey stillness. The fog drifts low and even, brushing their woolly backs, and the air smells of damp grass and cool earth. A faint, contented murmur rises now and then and fades. You breathe slowly and feel the deep peace of the flock at rest, the whole hillside hushed and soft beneath its drifting veil of mist. The kale stands tall and ruffled along its bed, deep blue-green and slightly frosted with evening dew, each leaf sturdy and curled at the edge. You run your fingers along one leaf, feeling its firm, crinkled texture. Beside it, a row of collards spreads broad and glossy, catching the last light in soft sheen. The air is cool now, carrying the mineral scent of dew settling overturned earth. A rabbit pauses at the row's far end, watching you with still, patient eyes, before slipping quietly into the hedge. You linger there unhurried among the sturdy greens, feeling the calm of the darkening garden settle slowly and completely over you. The cart shed smells faintly of new-cut hay stacked just inside the door, gathered that afternoon and left to dry through the night. You sit close beside it, feeling its dry sweetness fill the cool evening air, and lean back against the support post, worn smooth by years of quiet leaning. Through the open door the field lies soft and dim, the furrows blurring gently into shadow. A single star appears above the hedgerow, faint and steady. The cart rests nearby, silent on its wheels, waiting for tomorrow's work. You close your eyes and breathe the hay sweetness slowly, again and again, feeling your shoulders loosen and your thoughts grow soft and slow. Deep in the reeds at the pond's edge there is a nest, a shallow cup of dry grass lined with the duck's own soft down, and she is sitting in it now for the night. Only her head and the smooth line of her back show above the rim. She turns her eggs once gently with her bill, and settles again with the small shuffling of feathers. The reeds stand close around her, dark and rustling faintly. The pond beyond lies flat and pale. You come no nearer than the path, and after a moment she closes her eye and lets her bill sink toward her breast. Everything in the reeds is warm and dim and patient, and the evening folds itself quietly around the little nest. A narrow lane leads you down to a wooden gate hung between two mossy posts, and you pause there as dusk settles over the fields. The breeze is barely more than a breath, yet it is enough to stir the gate, drawing a low, slow creak from its top hinge. You lean your shoulder against the post and watch the light fade behind the hills. The creak repeats, patient and even like the field itself breathing. Somewhere a moth taps softly near a distant window. You trace a finger along a groove worn into the wood by countless hands before yours. The gate sways again, whispering its quiet note, and you feel your thoughts loosen and drift with each small, creaking breath of the evening air. Where the ditch runs damp, there is a guelder rose in the hedge, and its berries have come translucent, hanging in flat clusters so clear that the low sun shines right through them. You crouch and put your eye level with a bunch. They glow like red glass, each one lit from behind, the seed inside showing as a faint dark shape. The leaves around them have gone wine-colored at the edges. Water moves somewhere below in the ditch, a small continuous murmur. You stay there, looking through the lit fruit at the blurred gold of the field beyond, and the sight is so simple and so lovely that your mind empties of everything else. When you rise at last, you do it slowly, the peace going with you. A gray farm cat is asleep at one end of the bench under the old apple tree when you arrive, and she does not move, only opens one eye and closes it again. You sit at the other end and leave her to it. The evening sun lies long and level across the orchard grass, and the tree throws a great soft shadow that reaches nearly to the wall. The cat's side rises and falls. Somewhere behind you a blackbird runs through a few unhurried phrases and stops. You rest your head back against the slats and watch the light climb slowly up the trunks, and after a while your breathing has fallen in with the sleeping cat's, slow and easy and warm. A track of soft red earth winds between fields of ripe barley not yet cut, the heavy heads glowing amber in the low sun and whispering as the wind moves through them. You walk slowly, the warm dust soft beneath your feet, breathing the dry, sweet smell of the grain. The track rises and falls with the gentle land, hedgerows on either side heavy with berries, a lark coming down to roost somewhere in the corn. Far ahead a farm shows a single warm light. The sun lies long and golden across the fields, and your shadow stretches far before you. You stop where the track crests a low rise, rest a while, and watch the barley ripple gold to gray as the evening draws softly down. The cot shed's earthen floor is cool beneath you as you lie flat on your back, looking up at the underside of the thatch, thick and shadowed, gathered in soft, uneven layers overhead. A little light seeps through in scattered points, faint as distant stars. The cart looms nearby, a familiar dark shape, its wheels still. You fold your hands over your chest and breathe slowly, feeling the day's warmth rising gently from the packed earth beneath you. The cricket sings somewhere near the doorway, steady and unbroken. The scent of straw and old wood settles around you like a blanket. Outside the field grows quiet as evening deepens, the last birds finding their roosts. On a hillside thick with sleeping sheep, you find a hollow in the turf and settle into it, the ground still holding a faint warmth from the day. The flock lies scattered around you, pale shapes at rest, their slow breathing a low and peaceful rhythm in the dark. Above, the sky deepens from rose to violet to a soft starless gray near the horizon. You think of a shepherd you once knew, his easy calm, the way he spoke quietly to the animals as if to old friends. The grass smells sweet and green beneath you, and a single owl calls once from a distant copse, gentle and unalarmed. You lie back, and the great hill seems to cradle you, slow and sure. An owl calls from somewhere deep in the elms, 2 soft notes and then a pause, and you stop in the lane to listen. It comes again, further off, gentle as breath across the neck of a jar. The trees are great dark shapes now, their crowns just visible against the sky still faintly light in the west. The air is cool and smells of damp grass. Down in the hedge, something small rustles and thinks better of it. The owl calls a 3rd time, quieter still, and after that there is only the wide, soft silence of the fields. You stand a moment in that silence, hardly breathing, then walk on, your footsteps the only sound in all the lane, the dark closing warmly and safely around you as you go. From the hillside path you look down on the small village folded in the valley below, its roofs already dim in the dusk. Beyond it the land climbs again in low green waves, hill behind hill, fading softly into the evening blue. A church bell rings the hours somewhere down among the roofs, slow and round and unhurried, each note drifting up the slope and dying gently away. The turf is cool beneath you, and the air smells faintly of wood smoke rising from the hidden chimneys. A last swallow wheels over the fields. You sit and listen to the bell fade into stillness, and watch the folded hills go dark around the sleeping village, the whole quiet country settling softly down into the peaceful night. On the far hillside the flock of sheep has settled for the night, and their sounds drift to you, thin and gentle, across the dark fields. A soft blade lifts now and then, answered by another, neither urgent, just the quiet conversation of animals at rest. You hear the dull, comfortable shuffle of them moving a step or 2 in the grass, then stillness. The breeze brings the smell of wool and clover. Closer by, a beetle ticks once against a dry stalk. Everything is unhurried and low. You let the faraway bleating wash over you like something half-remembered, a sound as old as these hills, and your breathing slows to match the easy rhythm of the resting flock. You lean on a weathered gate where the lane meets a wide meadow, and rest your arms along the sun-warmed top ball. Below you the grass is thick with buttercups, thousands of them, their small glossy cups nodding all together as a slow breeze passes over the field. The light lies low and golden, and the flowers seem to hold it, glowing faint and yellow in the gathering evening. A moth lifts from the grass and drifts along the hedge. The gate creaks softly as you lean, and the air smells of warm green growth. You watch the buttercups ripple and settle, like something breathing in its sleep. The meadow is deeply quiet, and you let its stillness gather around you, your worries loosening and slipping quietly out of reach. A soft wind moves through the porch just before full dark, setting every hanging herb swaying at once, sage and dill and lemon thyme all rustling together in a low papery whisper. You sit very still in the porch's old wicker chair to listen, hands resting loose on the armrests. The mingled scent rolls over you in one long warm wave, sharp and sweet and green all at once. Beyond the rail, the fields answer with their own soft rustle of grass. Slowly the wind eases, the herbs settle, and the porch falls quiet again, holding only the last faint drift of scent and the gentle creak of your chair as you rock, unhurried, into the settling night. Cornflowers grow in a soft blue drift, where the quiet lane meets an old crossing, and you crouch at the verge to look at them more closely. Their ragged heads are the deep blue of coming dusk, and they nod on their slender stems whenever the evening air stirs. You cup one gently in your palm and feel how light it is, how it bows and springs back the moment you let it go. The signpost above leans quietly, its painted names faded soft with years. No cart comes, no footsteps sound. The crossroads lie still in the last of the gold. The blue flowers sway and settle around you, cool and dreamlike in the fading light. You breathe slowly, and the deep calm of the place seeps quietly into you. A single hedge divides the sheep from the cattle, and you walk the track between the two fields as both of them settle for the night. On your left, the flock is folding down into the grass in scattered pale groups. On your right, the herd is going to its knees among the thistles, dark and slow and heavy. The sounds come from either side of you at once, a soft bleat, a long breath, the rustle of a large body turning in grass. The hedge stands black between them. Ahead, the track runs on into the mild dusk toward the farm and its one-lit window. You walk it very slowly, unhurried as anything around you, with the two fields going quietly to sleep on either hand. There is an old crate up here, turned on its end and gone smooth on top from years of sitting, and you settle onto it beneath the drying rack. From here the bundles hang just above you, their stems pointing up into the dimness, their leaves dark against the pale roof boards. You tip your head back and look up through them at the rafters and the underside of the thatch. The scent settles down over you slowly, sage and thyme and something faintly sweet. Nothing moves. The crate is steady beneath you, and the loft is warm all around. Little by little your shoulders come down, and your eyes grow heavy, and the whole hanging garden above you blurs gently into one soft grey shape. A soft evening rain has just passed over, and you walk beside the old field wall while the last drops fall glinting from its stones. The grey courses are dark and gleaming now, the moss swell bright green, and every crevice holds a small bead of water catching the returning light. The sun breaks low beneath the clouds, and the whole wet wall shines gold and silver along its length. The washed air is cool and clean, rich with the scent of rain on stone and grass. Beyond, the hills lie fresh and glistening, sloping to the hills where a faint rainbow fades. You trail a hand along the wet cool stones, breathe the rent sweet air, and feel the calm of the passing rain settle deep within you. You stand at the center of the narrow bridge and watch the brook slide beneath it in slow, unhurried curves, clear enough to see every pebble along its shallow bed. The stone rail is cool beneath your hands, its surface pitted gently by long years of weather. A single swallow dips low beneath the arch and rises again on the far side, quick and silent. Grass along the near bank leans softly where the brook has worn the earth smooth over time. You breathe in the cool, faintly mineral scent rising from the water and let your shoulders ease. The brook's quiet voice continues on beneath you, steady and complete, asking for nothing, and your thoughts grow slower with every passing moment. You crouch at the reed line where the mud is cool and soft beneath your bare feet, close enough to hear the small shifting sounds beneath the coals, a rustle, a gentle plop, a ripple spreading thin across the dark water. The frogs' voices layer around you, near and far, deep and light, filling the hush of the falling evening. Cattails lean close overhead, their brown heads nodding faintly. Somewhere a cricket joins in, thin and steady beneath the frog's rounded notes. You straighten slowly and step back to drier grass, turning to watch the pond glow faintly silver as the first stars come out, the chorus rising gently behind you, wrapping the whole meadow in its slow, contented sound. From the gate at the top of the slope, the barley field spreads out below you in long, gentle waves, gold fading to amber where the shadows deepen. You lean on the worn wood and watch the wind move across it, a soft ripple starting at the far corner and rolling steadily toward the near hedge, again and again unhurried and sure. Swallows dip low over the swaying heads, then rise and vanish into the pale sky. The evening is warm and still except for that constant whispering motion below. You count the waves without meaning to, 1, 2, 3, each one dissolving quietly into the next. The gate is smooth and cool under your hands, the field endless and slow, and you find yourself swaying faintly too in time with the barley. On the top of the hill there is a low green mound, older than anything else in sight, and you sit on its flank as the day ends. The grass on it is short and fine and full of tiny flowers gone shut for the night. All around the land lies out in gentle folds, hill behind hill, hedge behind hedge, growing bluer as they go, and the whole of it seems to be settling slowly downward into the evening. Sheep crop somewhere behind you, an occasional soft tearing sound. The wind that blew all afternoon has dropped to nothing. You sit on the ancient quiet mound and watch the folded country dim, and you feel very small and very safe, and pleasantly, deeply sleepy. Late in the day, you find a wooden ladder resting along the cart shed wall, leading up into a loft where loose hay is stored. You climb it slowly, the rungs worn smooth underfoot, and settle into the hay above, letting it shape itself softly around you. Below, through gaps in the loft floor, You can see the dim shape of the cot and the tools hung along the wall. A thin line of evening light falls through the small loft window, catching drifting dust in gold. Somewhere beneath you, a hen shifts and settles in a nesting box, murmuring low. The hay smells sweet and dry, faintly of summer. A mossy old log lies across the stream where it runs narrow and deep, and you settle upon it to sit above the moving water. The bark is soft with moss and cool beneath you, and below your feet the stream slides by in slow dark folds, murmuring around the log's sunken end. Small flurries of foam gather in turn and drift away. On both banks the meadow grasses lean toward the water, heavy with seed in the low gold light. A wren flits along the far bank, low and quick, and is gone into the green. You sit astride the quiet log with the stream passing endlessly beneath you, and its soft unbroken voice loosens every knot of the day, until you feel as still and settled as the mossy wood. The stable door stands half open and the horse shifts in the dim behind you, blowing softly, easy. You stand in the doorway looking out at the blue yard, and above you, in the angle of the eaves, the swallows are settling. One flies in over your shoulder, and you feel the little breath of it pass. There is a scuffle, a burst of low chatter, then quiet. The horse blows again. The straw smell and the horse smell and the cooling stone all mix in the still air. Out beyond the yard gate, the fields have gone to dim green and grey. You rest a hand on the doorframe and stay there, between the warm dark of the stable and the soft dark of the evening, while the swallows finish coming home. You come upon a small stone bridge arching over a narrow brook, its stones rounded and softened by countless slow seasons. You step onto it and pause at the center, resting both hands on the low mossy parapet. Below, the water slips clear and shallow over pale pebbles, murmuring its same quiet note again and again. Firs lean from the banks to trail their fronds near the surface. The evening light falls gold across the stones, warming them beneath your palms. A single moth drifts low over the current and is gone. You breathe in the cool mineral scent arising from the water, and let the bridge hold you there, unhurried, while the brook keeps its endless soft conversation with the stones below. The white plank floor of the barn is worn smooth and pale, and you sit down upon it with your back against the great stack of hay. The boards are cool and clean beneath you, but the hay at your back is warm and soft and breathes out its sweet dry scent of clover and cured grass. Evening light lies dim and gold along the floor. Above you the roof climbs into shadow, crossed by its dark gold beams. You rest your head back into the yielding hay and feel it prickle faintly, softly, at your neck. The barn is deeply quiet, holding the day's warmth close. You breathe the sweet air slow and deep, and the stillness of the old floor and the fragrant stack settles all through you. Field scabious grows in soft mauve pincushions along the quiet lane, lifted high on wiry stems that sway at the least stir of air. You pause beside them as the sun sinks low, watching the pale purple heads nod slowly above the grass. A hoverfly hangs almost still in the warm light, then darts to a flower and clings there as it sways. The lane runs empty and golden between its hedges, and the far fields have gone hazy and dim. You reach out and let one scabious head rest against your open hand, feeling it dip and lift with the breeze. The evening is warm and unhurried, full of the drowsy sound of insects settling for the night. You breathe it in slowly, and a deep quiet gathers within you. In the corner of the near field, a single cow has lain down by the hedge, and you stop by the gate to watch her in the fading light. She has folded herself into the long grass at the foot of the hawthorn, her legs tucked neatly beneath her, her head held calm and high. Her jaw works slowly round and round, grinding the day's grass in the old, unhurried way. Moths drift pale along the hedge, and the first bats flicker out against the grey sky. The evening cools, and a thread of mist begins to gather in the low ground beyond her. She blinks her great dark eyes and lets them close, then opens them again, drowsy and content. You lean on the gate and watch her chew and rest, easy in the gathering dusk. The sweet peas have covered their hazel frame completely, and now they hang in ruffled clusters of white and mauve and dusky red. You go out with scissors in the low sun to cut a few for the kitchen table. The scent reaches you before you reach them, a soft cloud of it hanging as their evening. Bees are pushing into the keels of the flowers, working them one by one, humming as they go. You cut slowly, choosing, leaving plenty behind. The stems are fine and hairy and cool. Each cut releases a fresh breath of that sweetness. When your hand is full, you stop and stand a moment among the flowers and the bees and the fading gold, and the whole evening seems to be made of scent and sound and nothing else at all. The work is finished, and you sit down at last with your back to the warm stove and look up. The last of the daylight has climbed the walls and lies along the ceiling now. A faint, uneven wash of grey gold across the old whitewashed boards, the beans laid over it in soft, dark stripes. It fades so slowly you cannot see it going, only notice every little while that there is less. The kitchen breathes around you, the stove's low murmur, the clock, a floorboard easing somewhere overhead. Your hands lie open in your lap. Outside, the fields have folded themselves away into the dark. You watch the last light leave the ceiling, unhurried, and feel the whole long day settle out of you and drift quietly off to sleep. Beneath the willow by the pond, you sit on a smooth root as swallows skim the still water, their wings barely touching the surface with each graceful pass. Small rings spread in the fading light. Frogs begin their low, patient chorus somewhere among the reeds. The willow's long branches sway softly overhead, brushing your shoulder now and then. Above, more swallows join the gathering, circling the pond in loose, easy loops before angling toward the farmhouse beyond the trees. You watch the sky soften from gold to deep blue, the birds' calls growing fewer and farther between, until only the quiet pond and the trailing willow remain, calm and still around you. You follow the narrow path along the riverbank as swallows skim the water beside you, their wings catching brief flashes of the fading light. Willows lean low over the slow current, trailing their branches just above the surface. The birds rise and dip in unhurried rhythm, gathering in greater numbers as dusk deepens around you. A heron stands motionless in the shallows, unbothered by the passing swallows. You slow your steps, matching the calm, steady pace of the evening, and watch the birds circle once more above the water before angling toward a distant farmhouse roof, their calls fading softly into the hush of the darkening river. One rook has come down to a low bough within easy sight of you, and it stands there in the dusk, preening. It draws a wing feather through his beak, slowly, from base to tip, then another and another, working along the row with great unhurried attention. Now and then it pauses and looks about and settles and starts again. Its feathers catch a deep blue where the last light finds them. Above, the rest of the rookery murmurs and shuffles among the high nests. The bough dips slightly under the bird's weight and steadies. You stand very still, not wanting to disturb it, and find that standing still is easy, and then pleasant, and then the only thing you want, as the light goes soft and gray around you both. On a bench beside the hive sits a bowl of wax cappings, pale and crumbled and gleaming faintly in the last light. You take a piece between your fingers and it softens at once, going smooth and tacky with the warmth of your hand. It smells of honey and clean summer. The bowl is old enamel, chipped blue at the rim, and a slow bead of amber has gathered at the bottom. Bees drift over to it, one or two, tidying up what is left, then wander home. The field beyond has gone soft and gray. You roll the little wax between your palms until it is a warm, smooth bead, and set it back in the bowl, and the evening feels very simple and very kind. Under the high full moon you settle into the soft grass at the foot of a gentle slope, a folded blanket beneath you, and gaze up at the wide glowing sky. The rolling hills rise dark and serene around the little dell, sheltering you from the breeze. The grass is cool and sweet, beaded with dew that catches the light like scattered glass. The bright moon washes everything in calm silver, and around it a faint scatter of stars glimmers softly. The air is mild and smells of grass and earth. Somewhere far off an owl calls low and gentle, and is answered. You let your eyes grow heavy beneath the wide and peaceful sky, and the deep stillness of the moonlit country carries you softly toward sleep. The kitchen clock hangs above the doorway, and in the fading light you find yourself watching it. Its face is cream-gone ivory with age, the numbers plain and black, the brass pendulum swinging slow behind its glass. The tick is unhurried and even, not a hurrying sound, but a settling one, the sort you stop hearing and then hear again. The minute hand moves without you ever catching it move. Around it the kitchen dims, the dresser and the table sinking softly into shadow. The stove murmurs. You lean back against the warm wall and let the ticking fill the room, each small sound arriving exactly when the last one has finished, on and on, steady as breathing, and your own breath eases quietly into its rhythm. You climb up onto the low orchard wall and sit with your feet dangling, looking in across the rows of fruit trees in the fading light. The branches nearest the wall hang heavy over your head, plums and apples ripe and dim, close enough that you could reach up and cup one in your palm. The old stones beneath you are still warm from the sun, rough and reassuring. The air is soft and thick with the honeyed scent of the ripening orchard. A grasshopper creaks somewhere in the long grass below, then stops. You swing your feet slowly and watch the light drain gold from the laden trees, and the first bats flicker out against the dimming sky, and the deep evening quiet settles gently over the wall and the fruit and you. From a gateway at the edge of a wood, you look back across the rolling fields as the blue hour deepens behind you. The last pale light lingers low on the horizon, fading upward into deep calm blue where the early stars are gathering. The fields between fold away in soft dim waves, the hedgerows dark soft lines, a thin mist beginning to settle in the lowest hollows. Behind you the wood is quiet and dark, its trees soft black shapes, the air beneath them cool and earthy. A last bird calls somewhere in the branches and then falls silent. You stand in the gateway between the open fields and the sheltering wood, in no hurry to move either way, simply watching the light fade from the gentle country. A deep stillness gathers all around, and you breathe it slowly and gladly in. Behind the cart shed, a low stone trough catches the last light, its water still and silver, reflecting the sky's fading color. You sit on its edge, feet resting on the cool grass, and glance back through the open shed door at the familiar shapes inside, the cart, the hanging tools, all dim now in the coming dusk. A moorhen calls once, far off across the field. The water in the trough barely stirs, holding its reflection steady. You dip your fingers in briefly, feeling the cool press against your skin, then let them rest dry against your knee. The evening deepens slowly around you, the shed's shadow stretching longer across the grass. You breathe in the mild air, scented faintly of water and hay, and let your thoughts settle as still and quiet as the water beside you. Under a low-thatched shelter at the end of the row, a few old straw scaps sit on a shelf, kept long after their working days. You run a finger along the coiled rye straw, dry and golden and rough, bound round with split bramble gone dark with age. They smell faintly of wax and hay. No bees live in them now, they hold nothing but shadow and the last of the day's warmth. Beyond the shelter the modern hives hum softly in the gathering dusk. A moth blunders past and away. You stand under the thatch and look at the old domes sitting patient in a row, keeping their shape and their sweetness long after the work has ended, and the sight of them settles something quiet in you. Beneath a fennel bundle, someone has spread an old cloth on the floorboards to catch what falls, and it is scattered now with a fine harvest of seeds, pale green and ribbed, no bigger than grains of rice. You crouch and pinch a few up. Between your fingers they release a warm, sweet smell, faintly of aniseed, and you turn them over on your palm to look at them. Above, the tall dry umbels hang upside down, still holding most of their seed, letting it go a little at a time. There is no hurry in it. You tip the seeds carefully back onto the cloth and stand, and the loft is dim and warm and quiet around you, and the fennel goes on with its slow and patient shedding. From the bench beneath the old apple tree, you can see the farmhouse across the field, and a lamp has just come on in its window, small and yellow in the blue dusk. You settle back on the slats to watch it. The orchard around you is losing its colors, the apples going gray, the grass going dark. Moths lift out of the long grass and wander off. The air holds the day's warmth close to the ground, and the first cool of the night sits above it. Nothing moves in the lit window. It is only a warm square in the distance, patient and steady. You look at it a long while, and the evening deepens gently around the bench, and you are in no hurry to go in. 2 loaves of bread sit cooling on the scrubbed table, their crust a deep and glowing brown in the last of the light. You rest your palms near them, not quite touching, and feel the warmth that still rises from the fresh-baked crumb. The whole kitchen is scented with it, the patient smell of flour and yeast and long, slow heat. Outside the window the fields have gone soft and gray, and a single lamp glows yellow somewhere across the yard. The bread creaks faintly as it settles and cools, a small, contented sound. A dusting of flour still whitens the board beside them. You lean on your elbows and breathe the warm bread air, and the tiredness of the day drifts quietly out of your shoulders. The moon is so bright tonight that the rolling fields seem dusted with frost, though the air is mild and soft. You follow a footpath worn smooth through the grass, the way ahead clearly lit, each blade tipped with cool light. On either side the land swells and dips in long, easy curves, and a scattering of oak trees stand alone in the pastures, their broad shadows pooling dark on the silvered ground. A nightjar chirrs faintly somewhere in the distance, a low and soothing thread of sound. You slow your pace, content to drift, letting the wide brightness of the night hold you. The hills feel ancient and unbothered, and in their company your worries loosen and quietly fall away. A dry stone wall runs straight up over the shoulder of the hill, and you follow it slowly as the day lets go. The stones are gray and warm, furred with soft moss, and little cushions of time that release their scent as you brush past. Beyond the wall the land rolls away in low green folds, hill behind hill, each fading paler into the dusk. A robin keeps pace with you along the top of the wall, flitting a few stones ahead and waiting, its small eye bright in the failing light. The evening air is cool and still. You rest a hand on the sun-warmed stone and look out over the darkening country, and the grey quiet of the hills comes down around you, slow and settling and deep. Beneath the eaves, the granary loft holds its heat long after the sun has gone, and you lie back against a heap of burlap sacks, watching the last light fade through the cracks in the boards. Grain dust hangs faintly in the air, catching the dimming glow like fine gold powder. A barn owl somewhere beyond the rafters gives one low, unhurried call. Then silence returns. The wood above you creaks softly as it cools, a slow and patient sound. You breathe in the warm scent of dry oats and aged timber, and feel the day's small cares loosen and slip away. The loft seems to lean in around you close and safe, and you let your whole body sink deeper into the soft, yielding sacks. There is a tin pail of soaked barley by the gate, and you carry it down to the pond in the last of the light. The flock sees you coming and rouses, unhurried, a dozen ducks tilting their heads and paddling in to meet you. You scatter a slow handful across the shallows, and they dip and dabble at it with soft, busy sounds, water sieving out at the sides of their bills. There's no jostling in them tonight, only sleepy interest. Slowly the pail empties. The ducks drift off in ones and twos toward the reeds, breasts low in the water, and you rest the empty pail on the grass and stand listening to the small satisfied murmurs going quiet across the pond. There is an old bench set against the south wall of the kitchen garden, and the bricks behind it have held the sun all day. You sit down and lean back, and the warmth soaks through your shirt into your shoulders. Before you, the beds lie in quiet order, onions bending over, lettuce in soft green rows, a wigwam of peas gone wild. Bees drift along the wall where the fruit is trained, and their hum rises and falls and never quite stops. The light is going amber, and that's turning it high and aimless. You let your hands rest open in your lap. The warm bricks hold you, the low sun holds you, and the murmur of the bees goes on and on. The garden asks nothing of you, and slowly you stop asking anything of yourself. On the table sits a small white butter dish, with the lid shaped like a lion cow, and you lift it off to look. The butter beneath is deep yellow, glossy at the cut, marked with the shallow ridges of the knife and a faint print from the wooden pad. It has softened all afternoon in the kitchen's warmth and smells sweetly of cream. The dish is cool china, smooth under your thumb, its glaze crazed to a fine web of lines. Dusk fills the window with gray-blue. You set the lid back, and the small cow settles into place as it has 10,000 evenings before. Somewhere the stove shifts. There is such comfort in these little things keeping their places, and you feel your thoughts slowing to match. You lift the full pail carefully and carry it in from the barn, and the cider tilts and shines with each step. Down the worn stone stairs you go, slowly, feeling for each tread, and the cellar's cool comes up to meet you. It smells of earth and oak and more of apples. You set the pail on the flags and let your arms rest. The gold surface swings a little, settles, goes still, and holds the candle's small flame doubled on it. Around you the barrels wait in the dark. Everything is cool and quiet and slightly damp. You sit down on the bottom step beside the pail and stay a while, letting the hush of the cellar gather in around you. You wade a few careful steps into the barley itself, feeling the stalks close softly around your legs, dry and warm and gently resistant. The field moves with the evening wind in long, unbroken sweeps, and from inside it the whole world seems to tilt slowly side to side, gold above and gold below. The husks whisper close to your ears, a low steady murmur with no beginning and no end. You reach up and let a full heavy head rest across your open palm, feeling its weight, its faint tremble in the breeze. Somewhere behind you a hair moves off unseen through the rows. You stand very still at the center of it all, swaying gently as the barley sways, until the field and your own slow breath seem to move as one. You linger by the smokehouse wood pile as the last light fades, watching thin smoke rise from the chimney and drift low across the yard before lifting into the darkening sky. The stacked logs beside you smell of split hickory, dry and faintly sweet. Someone has left a lantern glowing near the smokehouse door, casting a warm circle of light on the packed earth. You sit on the edge of the woodpile, boots resting on a fallen log, and simply watch the smoke slow changing shapes. It bends with the breeze, then straightens, then bends again, unhurried and endless. The scent of curing meat drifts faintly from within. You stay until the lantern light and the smoke blurs softly together in the deepening dusk, your own thoughts drifting just as slowly. You lie on your front on the warm bunk with your arm over the edge and let your hand hang down into the stream. The water is cold and smooth, and it moves around your fingers without effort, pressing gently, going on. If you spread your hand, it makes a small ripple that trails away downstream and vanishes. Beneath you, the current is a long, slow muscle, endlessly moving, never in a hurry. The grass under your chest is warm from the whole long day. The evening sun rests on the back of your neck. You watch the water break and mend itself around your wrist over and over, until your hand goes numb and easy, and your eyelids grow heavy, and the sound of it fills everything. The countryside lies quiet all around you, the hills soft and dark, the air cool and still. You have nothing left to carry, no thought left to follow. Let your breathing slow and deepen. Let your body grow heavy. Let the gentle land hold you as you drift. There is nowhere else to be tonight, nothing else to do. Simply let yourself sink down deeper and softer into the warm and peaceful dark. Sleep now gently and well. All is calm and all is quiet.